Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to The Last Lap. We have a bunch of action to cover for you guys in this video. It was a triple header at Darlington, throwback weekend, one of my favorite weekends of the year. All three series raced this weekend, so we're going to review all of the action that happened for you guys. Before we hop into it, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed to the channel. We upload YouTube videos every Monday and Friday, so hitting that subscribe button would really go a long way for the channel. In between videos, you can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at The Last Lap News. We post some content on there throughout the week as well. And now we're going to hop straight into it. I have my friend and co-host Matthew on the show as always. And what do you think about Throwback Weekend at Darlington this weekend?
Always love the throwback weekend. Some amazing paint schemes. I had there's a lot of good ones out there this year, so it's definitely nice to see that. And definitely interesting weekend. A lot happened in the lower series. As for the Cup Series, not much happened, but we'll get into that.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hop straight into it. We're going to talk about the Truck Series race first. That was on Friday night. And the first stage went to Todd Gilliland. He did a little bit of pit strategy. He stayed out during a late caution in the stage, and he ended up winning the first stage. Stage 2 went to John Hunter Nemechek, and that was kind of how the first two stages went. There was some mixed pit strategy of people pitting and staying out. So Todd Gilliland the first stage, John Hunter Nemechek the second stage, and then in the third stage, it seems like it always happens for any series this year. So the third stage always brings out the cautions. And so once a caution comes out, another one comes out after a restart, and so on and so forth. So there were one or two cautions, and then on a restart with 30 laps to go, there was a really big crash on the front stretch of this race. John Hunter Nemechek and Corey Heim, I think, is who was driving the 51. They were on the front row, and they had older tires, so they kind of spun the tires, I guess, a little bit, and the second row really shoved those two trucks, and I think it was Ben Rhodes, who was behind John Hunter Nemechek. He hit him a little too hard, and that sent John Hunter Nemechek down into the 51, and then Nemechek went into the wall. The 51 went to the left. The back tires came off the ground on the 51 truck, surprisingly, and it just caused a massive pile-up on the front stretch. At least 15 trucks were involved in the pile-up, and after that, there were even more cautions afterwards, and it came down to a green-white checker finish to decide it, and Sheldon Creed was on the front row, and he was able to hold on and win the Truck Series race. That was Matthew's pick, so he's going to get another point in the Fantasy Series for that. So Matthew, what do you have to say about the Truck Series race?
Well, the truck race always offers a lot of excitement and never disappoints. That big wreck was surprising. They were throwing back to Talladega apparently on that restart. But anyway, good thing I got Sheldon Creed right, because he ended up winning that race in that cool Jason Leffler throwback when he was driving the 2 truck back in the day. And I wanted to speak on this a little bit because I saw a tweet going around that was talking about how, I guess it was somebody saying like how he doesn't, he needs sponsorship, how could someone who won the championship be sponsors. We talked about this on Thursday. And then we saw the CEO of Camping World tweet back about it. Like he offered sponsorship. And apparently Sheldon Creed retweeted back saying we are worth more than a certain amount of money. And that was kind of that's kind of ridiculous on this part. When your car is only sponsored for like 1 or 2 races so far this year, Daytona and Darlington, you shouldn't be talking. You should be getting that offer on that sponsorship on your truck ASAP, because you cannot survive a whole season with barely any sponsorship. We've seen that happen, and it normally leads to drivers getting let go, like his teammate Lessard did earlier in the week. GMS just has a big business problem, and we talked about this on Thursday, so you can check that out. Our last video, we talked about this, but it just shows They really think they're worth more, but you need to take whatever sponsorship you get, because you don't. It's hard to get sponsorship right now with COVID still going on. With COVID, still having an impact. So you gotta take whatever you get.
Yeah, Marcus Lamotis is like one of the biggest names in NASCAR right now. He's the CEO of Camping World, and he's offering all these drivers sponsorship, and he's trying to get North Wilkesboro back and Nashville Fairgrounds back and all these tracks. And he offered Sheldon Creed sponsorship, but I guess Sheldon Creed was like, nah, fam, I'm good. But he did go out and win, so that does prove that GMS does have good trucks. But at the same time, you do need that sponsorship to get through the season, to supply more money and keep building trucks and keep up with equipment and all of that heading into the playoffs. So Sheldon Creed gets the win here, but it'll be interesting to see how that team does, and GMS in general does, moving forward with a lack of sponsorship. So now we're going to hop into the Xfinity Series, and let's see. Austin Cindric won the first stage, and honestly, that's about all we saw from Austin Cindric. He started a fade after that, and I'm not 100% sure where he finished. I think he finished outside the top 10 even. So Austin Cindric not having the best day there. It was the Dash for Cash cars that were up front for most of the first stage. It was Cindric, Gregson, and Allmendinger. Those three were up there for most of the first stage. And then stage 2 happened, and that went to Harrison Burton after a last lap pass coming off of turn 4. That was pretty impressive. And stage 2 and stage 3, Daniel Hemrick was up there as well. He ran really good throughout the day, led a bunch of laps, didn't win a stage or the race, but he was up there for a lot of the race as well. And once again, it came down to a green-white checker finish. There were a bunch of cautions in stage 3. And the Junior Motorsports cars kind of came out of nowhere in the third stage, and it was Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry on the front row, and then Noah Gragson was in third. And Justin Allgaier was able to take the lead on the green-white checker restart and pull away, and he was able to get the win, his second win of the season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Noah Gragson did win the Dash for Cash, but it was announced later after the race that his car was disqualified, so that means he finished last, and he lost like all of his stage points as well. So he literally got no points at all at Darlington in the Xfinity Series because of some suspension infraction or whatever. So that meant that AJ Allmendinger won the Dash for Cash, and he finished, I don't even think he finished in the top 10, I don't think. So that was kind of funny that Gregson finished second or third and then won the Dash for Cash but lost it, and then Allmendinger finished back in like outside the top 10 and he won the Dash for Cash. So I thought that was pretty funny. But Matthew, what do you have to say about the Xfinity race?
Well, I don't have a lot to say on it because I didn't really watch a lot of it because I was helping a friend move out that day. But it was great just an old guy to win. It was nice to see a cool looking throwback once again being victory lane like the Truck Series, which threw it back to Dale Sr. back in the day. Man, that's tough luck on Gregson there. I kind of don't understand how you don't see that in the pre-race inspection, but you can find that in the post. I mean, I'm not the expert there. I'm sure there's some way like mechanically some stuff can like lower down a little bit because of the how the racetrack goes sometimes. So that's a shame, and it's great for calling too. We all know they love the Dash for Cash and all that money. I've seen some funny videos on Instagram a couple times when they win the Dash for Cash, so I'm sure we'll see another funny one coming up. But yeah, it was a great win for the old guy, and also a good run for Josh Berry in that cool looking paint scheme as well.
Yeah, JRM is slowly starting to come alive here this year. They won, Justin Allgaier won at Atlanta, and now he won here at Darlington, so he could be a threat for the championship later in this year, possibly. But now we're going to hop into the Cup race, which was today on Sunday, and it was also Mother's Day, so sorry I didn't mention this earlier, but happy Mother's Day to any of the mothers who might be watching this, or any of you that have mothers. Go tell them you love them, because mothers are awesome.
Hi, Mom.
Anyways, anyways, just had to throw that out there. The race today was run on Mother's Day, and it was really cool to see families were allowed at the track in the pits, so I thought that was really cool. I saw a bunch of family members of the drivers in the pits, on the pit box, in the pit crew area, etc. So I thought that was really cool that families were allowed in the pits. This might have been the first or second time. It's the first time that I remember seeing them in the pits and all of that. So that was really cool to see. And throughout the broadcast, they showed pictures of drivers with their moms and all of that. So that was really cool. Tribute to the moms on Mother's Day today. Hopping into the race. Okay, I don't know what it is, but Chase Elliott had to start the rear again. I've lost count of how many times he's had to start in the rear this season so far, but I don't know what it is. This is at least 4, maybe 4 times he's had to start in the rear, but whatever. It is what it is. In stage 1, Eric Almirola got turned around pretty early. In stage 1, Eric Almirola got turned around, and that ended his day pretty early. Really tough season for him. He hasn't really had a good start to the season at all. I don't even know if he has a top 10 yet this season, but unfortunate break there for Almirola.
Yeah, he has.
Oh, he has? He's had 1 top 10? Okay. Well, at least he's had 1, but still a pretty rough season for him so far. Also in stage 1, I think it was around lap 20 or 25, Kyle Busch is in the lead, but Martin Truex Jr. passed him, and right as Truex passed him, Kyle had a right rear tire go down, and he went up the track, barely touched the wall with the right rear quarter panel, and spun out in turn 3. He was able to get back around and change tires and repair the damage, and he would come back to the front of the field throughout the race, so that was good to see that his day wasn't ruined by the tire going down. Tires were an issue this weekend at Darlington, but I'm not surprised because it's an older surface and there's a lot of sand and debris on the track throughout the race weekend, so a little bit surprising, but not really that surprising at all that tires were an issue with them getting punctures in them and going flat and all of that. So moving on with stage 1, that would go to Martin Truex Jr. He would win the first stage, and under the pit stops, under the caution, Kyle Larson was speeding, so he had to drop to the rear for that. Stage 2 had 2 accidents on lap 99. Cole Custer got sent to the inside wall and had a pretty hard hit. The front 2 tires came off the ground, and thankfully he was okay. He didn't really have anywhere to go. Anthony Alfredo got loose coming off of turn 2 and kind of came down and hit Custer and sent him to the inside wall, so unfortunate break for another SHR car. And the other incident was on lap 107, and that involved Kurt Busch. Same kind of deal as Cole Custer, almost. He was coming up, trying to get in line behind the car, but he wasn't quite clear. And Bubba Wallace was behind Kurt and hit him in the quarter panel, and that sent Kurt to the inside wall on the front stretch. So 2 very similar crashes on the opposite sides of the racetrack in stage 2. And that would go to Martin Truex Jr. as well. The big storyline, it seemed like all the people in the booth were hyping this up, but they were saying that, a driver that's never won a stage, has never won at Darlington, and like they just kept hyping that up the entire race. And they were like, Truex won both stages, is he gonna pull through and win the race? And it seemed like the big headline going into the third stage and throughout the entire third stage. But stage 3 was kind of boring, honestly. We didn't get that stretch of cautions at the end of the stage or anything. There were 2 sets of green flag pit stops, and Martin Truex Jr. just straight up dominated this race. He checked out in stage 2. He finished stage 2 with like a 14-second lead, so he was just cruising on a different level. After the second set of green flag pit stops, Kyle Larson was able to cut the lead down to, I think it was about 2 seconds or so, and he slowly started to gain on Truex, and he got it to within about half a second, but just couldn't pass Truex, and I think he used his stuff up and ended up falling back a little bit. And Martin Truex Jr. was able to get the win at Darlington, his 3rd win of the season, the only multi-time winner so far this year in the Cup Series. Great win for him. I think this almost solidifies him as a championship contender. I know it's still early in the season, but it shows that he has speed and that he can run well this year, so definitely possibly a championship contender moving forward. Matthew, what do you have to say about the Cup race?
Well, I thought the Cup race was pretty decent, to be honest. I liked what I saw with the 750 horsepower package, and there is the reason why I like it. Every corner and every lap, you always see somebody like losing control, having to use their skills to make sure they don't get too loose and wreck. And that's what I like seeing. Skill. You don't see it in the 550 horsepower package. You don't see that at all. In the 750 horsepower, you see that skill right there, and that's what I like about it. And I mean, those Truex just had a really fast car today. I mean, there's nothing else. I mean, no excuse about it. He had a really fast car, and Kyle Larson tried to run up to him, but he used up all his stuff, and that cost him the race. So, I mean, a lot of these people just love to whine and cry about everything as always, but they really be whining about this race being boring and a waste of time. But here's the thing, they're only saying that because Truex was the one dominating, or Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole was dominating. I mean, I didn't hear anybody saying the same thing about Larson when he was dominating Atlanta, even though he kind of blew that race away. But still, he was dominating the whole race. I didn't hear a single peep about, oh, this is boring, nothing's happening, because it's, Hendrick. But anyways, I mean, Truex just had a really fast car, and I mean, he's already looking to be a series championship contender already with 3 wins, the most wins of anybody in the season so far. So, congratulations to Truex, and I thought the race was pretty decent. I mean, I only saw on TV. I feel like it'd be much better if I was in the stands. So, I'm not the one to judge from there.
I'm going to quickly go over the top 10 really quick. So Martin Truex Jr. got the win. Kyle Larson finished second. Kyle Busch finished third. Another great run for him. William Byron fourth. Continues that streak of top 10 finishes. I believe it's 10 in a row now, possibly, for him. So he's on quite a roll this season. Very consistent from him. Denny Hamlin fifth. The points leader still so far this season. Kevin Harvick sixth. Chase Elliott seventh. Ryan Blaney eighth. Chris Buescher and Ryan Newman round out the top 10. Another great run for those Roush Fenway racing cars. Very good run for them to be able to both get top 10s. And I would say my big story is the dominance of Joe Gibbs Racing and Hendrick Motorsports. Both of them, 3 cars in the top 5 for Joe Gibbs, and 2 in the top 5, and 3 in the top 10 for Hendrick Motorsports. And Penske, nowhere really to be found. I mean, Ryan Blaney did finish in the top 10, but none of the Penske cars were really up there. Joey Logano was up there for a little bit in this race. Brad Keselowski dropped off like a rock. I don't know what happened with his car. I think he finished 2 or 3 laps down, so that was a shocker for Brad Keselowski to fall that off the pace and Penske not really be up there. So I would say that's my big headline for this weekend at Darlington. We are now going to rate the race this weekend at Darlington. For me, I kind of feel like the Cup race was a little bit less entertaining than the Truck and Xfinity, just because that third stage was wild in both of those races. But Matthew, what are you going to rate the Cup race at Darlington?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I love the racing I saw. I guess I'm the only one who likes the racing I saw. I mean, yeah, sure, it was dominant by one car most of the race, but other than that, there was a lot of racing besides, the lead cars. I mean, there was a lot of side-by-side racing. There was 3 wide at some points. The cars were getting really loose in every corner, every lap. That's what I like seeing. It's the skills. I don't like seeing that 550 horsepower package at all. That doesn't really take a lot of skill compared to 750, so that's why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I mean, you can say it's boring, but for me, I thought it was a pretty decent race, in my opinion.
I'm going to give this race, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Honestly, I wasn't that big of a fan of it just because Martin Truex Jr. checked out and dominated this race, but you do bring up a good point that the package did bring out a lot of skill for the drivers, a bunch of sideways moments, cars sliding off of the corners, So that was a good thing, and the racing was pretty good, besides Martin Truex Jr. just checking out. Kyle Larson actually made like a 3-wide pass in turn 1 through 2 lap cars, and I thought that was incredible. Granted, he was trying to chase Truex and do whatever he could to try and win the race, but I thought that was an incredible move right there by him. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen 3 wide in turn 1 at Darlington, because that's probably the narrowest turn on the entire schedule. So that was really cool. But yeah, I'll give this race a 6 out of 10 for this weekend at Darlington for the Cup Series. And now we're gonna hop into our fantasy really quick. I don't know what the deal is with you and winning a lot in this NASCAR fantasy thing. You got 4 points this weekend, and I got 0. Of course, the one weekend I picked John Hunter Nemechek, he doesn't win the race, so yeah. And then your pick for the trucks somehow ends up winning the race, so yeah, that was unfortunate. And then you picked Truex as your main pick, and he went out there and dominated. And Kyle Larson was my main pick, and he was up there, but my other picks, I didn't pick William Byron. Chase finished 7th, and Brad Keselowski finished like 2 laps down. So I guess I just don't have the luck for this stuff. But if I do my math correctly, I think you have 9 points now, and I have 4. You had 5 going into this weekend, and you got 4 points. So props to you, I guess, for almost sweeping the weekend. You almost swept the weekend there, but you got 4 points, so I'm sure you're pretty happy about that, aren't you? Are you happy about getting 4 points?
That's why I picked Truex. I knew Truex was gonna be strong with the 750 horsepower. He already won 2 races with that same package, so I knew coming in he was gonna be good. So I made the right choice.
Well, you definitely did your homework, and he did run well last year as well. I thought I had a pretty decent pick in Chase Elliott, since he ran there at Darlington well last year too, but he was okay. He was around 9th or 10th most of the day and finished 7th, probably a tiny bit better than what he should have finished. But for as a Chase Elliott fan, I'm happy with the top 10, honestly, since he didn't have a winning car. But do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap this episode up?
Well, I was surprised about Roush Fenway 9th and 10th. I didn't notice that. That was definitely impressive by them. And also, William Byron continues his amazing season with this top 10 streak again, finished 4th. So technically a top 5, but you get what I mean. I still feel like Byron can win a couple more races this year the way he's been running. And who knows? He might be a surprise in the round of 8. Or maybe even the championship 4. You never know, so we'll see.
Yeah, this season is definitely one of the crazier ones so far, with Martin Truex Jr. being the only multi-time winner still this season. 10 different winners, I think, through 12 races or 13 races, something like that. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Next weekend, we're going to be at Dover, and that's always an interesting track. Miles the Monster there. One of the crazier tracks on the schedule, just because the banking of that track is really crazy, and I always think of Joey Logano's flip there in 2008. That was probably one of the craziest crashes I've ever seen.
2009.
2009. Whatever. Close enough. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Dover is going to be next weekend, and we will come out with a preview video on Friday and recap any news that may have come out this week. But until then, we will see you all in the next episode.